Today, my 65-year-old father retired. When I came home, my husband was sitting in his chair. He started talking to me without even saying welcome home.
How much was your father's severance package?
It is zero. He was a scaffolding builder. As soon as he heard that, my husband slammed a piece of paper on the table with a bang.
I can't keep up with your poor family anymore. He had a job that didn't even offer retirement benefits. I don't want to take care of your family. I don't want them to take advantage of me. I want you out of my life.
After saying so, my husband walked out of the front door. A piece of paper slammed on the table was a filled-out divorce paper. I couldn't help but laugh, because he believed the lie that I had been telling him for 10 years and did something fatal. I am an ordinary housewife. I loved my father since I was little. He was a scaffolding builder. His face and arms were always tanned. He works very hard, sweating on his forehead and his arms. He was strict but gentle. On the job site, his subordinate loved him. My family was rather well off, but we didn't spend more than we had to. I think we led an ordinary life. My parents always said to me,
Nancy, don't tell other people about your father's job.
"Why?"
Because people may think about this job as good or bad. All right?
Okay.
You promise?
Yes, I promise. This promise I made over and over again to my parents. When I was a child, I did not understand why they were saying it. But now that I'm an adult, I understand. As time went by and I grew up, I got a job at a major company. I met Derek through a colleague. Derek was an elite employee of a major general contractor. His father was a doctor, and his mother was a daughter of a congressman. His older brother is a lawyer. They're an elite family. Derek seems to be proud of that. He used to tell me about his family. Derek was intelligent, well-spoken, good at his job, and kind. I was gradually attracted to him, and we started dating. When we began to think about marriage, I made a reservation at a fancy restaurant to introduce Derek to my parents.
It's good to see you. It's good to see you too. I've always wanted to meet you. Well, I'm glad you felt that way. Thank you for taking care of Nancy. I hope she hasn't caused you trouble.
Yes, sir. Nancy has always been a great help to me.
She's too good to me. I see. You are a nice young man, as people say.
People?
People talk about you as a very skillful, humble, and nice young man. I hear that a lot. That's too much praise. It's thanks to the people around me. Where do you work, sir?
He works for a film company as a scaffolding builder. I told him with pride. I didn't doubt that Derek could be proud of my father too. But all I got back from Derek was a confused voice of, "Oh," and a clouded expression on his face. I was momentarily taken aback by the unexpected reaction. But as I looked at the happy faces of Derek and my father, I forgot all about it.
Your father is a scaffolding builder, isn't he?
Eh? Yeah, is anything wrong?
No, nothing.
Derek asked me again on our way home from dinner with my parents. His face clouded once again. Why does he care so much about my father's occupation? I didn't feel good about the somewhat sarcastic way he asked, to be honest. But my parents seemed to like him, and that he was usually a kind person. I decided not to let it bother me at the time. Everything went smoothly, and we got married soon after that. I was happy to marry Derek, who is kind to me. But there was one thing that bothered me. After we got married, Derek rarely visited my parents' house, including weddings and funerals. I was a little concerned about Derek's attitude of refusing to visit them. But my parents and friends said it was natural as he worked so hard, so I believed it. Above all, he was as kind to me as before, so I thought I had to turn a blind eye to this. I tried not to mind about it. Though we had no children, as long as we could live happily together, that's all that mattered to me. That's right, like my father and mother. However, Derek began to show a side of himself that he never showed before we were married.
This year's newcomers are really useless.
They just joined the company, right? It takes time for them to get used to the job.
The other employees are useless too. Why do I have to take care of them? The subcontractors are really slow.
Don't say that. It's not like they're behind the schedule, right?
Well, they aren't, but I think that is why they are still working for a small company. They should have gotten things like this done quickly.
Just a little thing, such as talking badly about subordinate, or talking down to the subcontractors' companies. As I lived with him, my discomfort with Derek grew more and more, but I tried not to let it bother me. I assumed it was just because he was busy at work and under a lot of stress. He never said anything bad to me. As I left my job when I got married and became a housewife, I thought it was my job as a wife to listen to his complaints. 10 years after Derek and I got married, my father retired from the company where he had worked for a long time. That day, we had a small dinner party at my parents' house to thank my father for his hard work. Naturally, my husband did not come to my parents' house.
Is Derek busy again today?
Yes, he has something he can't miss. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. You must be looking forward to seeing him. When I said that, my father said,
I hear a lot about his work. He must be busy.
It's been a while since the three of us got together. Let's have fun with the three of us together as a family. Although my parents looked a little sad, we enjoyed a leisurely meal together. I heard about my father's work, which I'd never had the chance to listen to in depth. I once realized what an amazing person my father is. My father has worked so hard for us. From now on, I want him to enjoy his time with my mother, doing whatever he loves to do, such as hobbies and traveling. I went home with warm feelings. I'm home. Oh, the light is on. Oh, you are home. Derek, I thought you were going to be late. There's my husband Derek in the living room. Derek, holding something in his hand, doesn't even look at me. As if he didn't hear my words, Derek asked me a question.
Your father is retired, right? How much was his severance pay?
Severance pay? He doesn't get any severance pay. He was a scaffolding builder.
I see.
Oh, hey, Derek, where are you going? He put something in his hands on the living room table. He ignored me and headed for the front door. I called out to him several times, but he never turned around and just walked away. I was so surprised to see what was left in the living room. I could not even say a word. Divorce papers? Why? The smartphone I left in my bag rings. It was a message notification. As I opened it, it was from Derek, who has just left.
I'm not going to take care of your parents. Your father did not even get any severance payment. I don't want to take care of such a loser. I'm divorcing you.
That's what it said. Of course, my parents have never asked Derek for money. They don't plan on relying on us when they retire. They've always taken care of us. They were always concerned about my husband's busy schedule. I have been conniving at his contemptuous attitude towards his subordinates, subcontractors, and my father. But when I see his message, I lost my patience. I don't want him either. I immediately filled out the divorce papers and filed them. Derek left the house with just a few things and never came back. So I packed up all of his belongings in cardboard boxes and sent them all to his parents' house. I sent them without any heads up, but they didn't say anything about it. I guess Derek must have told them. I was a stay-at-home wife and had no job, so I explained the situation to my parents and decided to go back to their place for the time being. My parents were surprised, but as they listened to me, they expressed their anger towards Derek. They told me to come home. About a year had passed since the divorce. I received a phone call from Derek, begging me to let him meet my father.
Hello? Hey, how are you doing?
Who is this?
You know who I am. Don't be silly. It's me, Derek.
What do you want now?
I'm sorry that I left you with divorce papers all of a sudden.
What? I don't know why you're calling me now.
Don't give me the cold shoulder. Nancy, would you do me a favor?
A favor? Derek calls my name in a coaxing voice.
Nancy, I need to see your father.
I don't have any reason to do so.
Please, I really need to see your father.
I don't care. You don't want anything to do with a father who doesn't even have any severance pay, right?
I'm really sorry about that. I didn't know that your father was on the board of directors of the film company.
I'm sure you didn't. You look down on people because of what they do or how much they are paid. I never told you. It's true, isn't it? How come you want to see my father all of a sudden after we divorced for a year? I wonder if my father's company turned down the project your company is proceeding with. I heard Derek gulped with my words. Maybe I was a little mean, but he made fun of my father and unilaterally left the house with the divorce papers. I had to say that much.
I'm really sorry. If you know that much, please, we have been a family for 10 years.
We have been divorced for a year. We are strangers. And besides, you didn't show up at my parents' house for whatever reason when we were married. How dare you call them family?
Please.
No, I will not let you see my father. He seemed so desperate that he apologized over and over again.
I'm sorry about that time. I'm sorry for you too. So please let me see him.
I heard his voice saying it, but hit the end button and hung up on him. My father, Carl, was an executive at the company he worked for. He was a scaffolding builder when he was young, but by the time I can remember, he was in an important position at the company. He has been friends with the president of the company since he was young. They went out for a drink in private, and they were best friends. However, my father didn't like to talk about his position to others unnecessarily. He didn't like the idea of flaunting his position. He loved construction sites so much that even after he became a board member, he visited there with drinks and such. So he didn't like the formal title much. Furthermore, when people learn of my father's title, some approach him with treacherous feelings. My father's company was not a big one, but it had a long history and was well known locally. My father, who had worked hard and diligently for many years, was trusted by his subordinates. He also had good connections in the local community. Some clients gave the company large orders because they trust my father. That's why my parents told me again and again not to mention my father's occupation. They told me not to let anyone approach me because of my father's money or his profession. So I never told Derek about my father's occupation. The severance package was actually $1 million based on his position and contribution to the company, but I didn't tell Derek. Seeing him changing his attitude completely as soon as he found out about my father's position, I was glad I didn't tell him. After the divorce, Derek's company was planning to build a big shopping mall in the area. Derek was put in charge of the project. The shopping mall construction client had long heard of the reputation of my father's company. They were eager to have my father's company, which was well established, knows the land well, and is trusted by the residents, enter the project. However, the president of the company, who had heard from my father about how Derek and I had divorced, declined the offer when he found out that Derek was in charge of the project. Derek's words were unforgivable for the president, who were best friends with my father. His words also made fun of his many subordinates who work in the field.
Please reconsider. It was a long time ago,
Derek said. But the president said,
My people are working hard and sweating on the site in danger. Even if it was said in the past, I can't have my employees working with someone who disrespects them.
The client even went as far as to make the project blank. Derek, who was unable to fulfill the client's request because of him, was removed from the project and demoted to take responsibility. So he tried to talk to my father somehow through me. As I hung up on him, my smartphone has been ringing on and on. There is nothing to talk about now. I blocked his number, but to avoid trouble, I hired a lawyer after that. After the divorce, I found out that Derek had been cheating on me during our marriage. I decided to request alimony and cut off the relationship with Derek at this time. When we lived together, Derek's shirts were neatly washed and ironed, even though he could not do any housework at all. I once found him sleeping on the couch with a tie I didn't recognize. There was times that he had unnaturally worked on his days off every week. I have thought something was wrong. When we got divorced, I took the plunge and hired an investigator, and found out that he was having an affair with a woman who worked with him at the time. The day he left with the divorce papers, I wondered why he left with only one bag. It seems that he went to the mistress' house and lived with her as it was. When I got divorced, many people told me that I should have taken alimony. But at the time, I didn't want to be involved with Derek anymore than to claim alimony, so I didn't. I didn't want him to grumble about not getting a divorce by any chance, or didn't want to be followed around. I just wanted to get rid of him. After that, the divorce was finalized without any problems. I even got a job as a clerk at a local company. It was when I made a fresh start Derek called me. It looked like he was going to persistently follow my father, so I decided to hire a lawyer. I can't believe he once made fun of my beloved father, and then tries to follow him around all of a sudden. I will make him regret it. The investigation company has seized a lot of evidence of the affair. Therefore, the claim for alimony was easily approved. After that, Derek, who had been demoted and had to pay the alimony, was abandoned by his mistress. He tried to change jobs, but it didn't work out because word had spread it in the industry. His family says,
You are a disgrace to the family. If you become unemployed, we will disown you.
He can't go back to his parents' house or get support from them. My ex-husband's family was always very elitist, so I don't think they would allow him to rely on his relatives either. Now it seems he is desperately trying to make ends meet to live on his own and to pay the alimony. My father told me what he had heard in rumors. I now strongly feel that we should not look down on people or make fun of them because of their money, occupation, or title. I'm grateful to my parents for teaching me from an early age that I should not judge people by those. This incident made me vow once again to live my life with humility